So we knew that would be a question this morning, so I asked him to prepare a statement so we would make sure that we say verbatim what he wants relayed to the group this morning. So in regard to his health, he says, I am thankful for the hundreds of text messages, calls, and prayers the past few weeks as I have battled carotid artery disease. Unfortunately, living like Ron White for 20 years, coupled with the stress of reinvigorating the best small town in South Carolina, caught up with my arteries. Luckily, after exploratory surgery yesterday morning, it was determined that stents weren't needed and the medicine appears to be reversing the problem. By next week, I'll be back giving 100% as usual for the next 117 days. And I am confident he will be fishing by tomorrow morning.
And I'm sure you're on a countdown, right, with him leaving out, because I know you're going to have to cover a lot when he's gone.
We are all on the countdown, yes.
Well, I hope we all continue to, I'm sure some of you saw that on Facebook this morning, but continue to think of Blake and pray for his speedy recovery and hopefully a full recovery. But I was grateful that they really found it was only 50% and didn't need to continue. So we're happy to hear that it was just a 50% blockage. Of course, it's better to not have any at all. But for someone in such great health, I guess that reminds all of us, Blake is in, besides that, in tremendously great health. So it really was a shock to all of us, but just keep him in your thoughts and prayers. I'll go ahead because somebody is going to ask that question too, so I'll just go ahead and hit into that too. So why is Blake Sanders deciding he doesn't want to be mayor anymore? I mean, we all think he's done such a great job. I'm sure he's talked with you about what to say on that, but I'm sure everybody's thinking, okay, Blake, what's next, right? Because we're not through with his leadership.
I have a comment. So I will wing that one a little bit, though. So, yes, he has done a phenomenal job and has brought more to West Pelzer than anyone that I'm aware of. But here is his answer in true Blake Sanders fashion. Next steps. Everyone is asking, what does prayerfully considering my next public service as an elected official mean? Frankly, I've always said that we had to prove that we could make West Pelzer the best it could be before we could make Anderson County better, our great state better, and our country better. The road to county council, the state house, and the White House all lead through West Pelzer. I'm sure that answered your question.
Yes. There's a lot of, oh, and then, yeah, very quiet. Yeah, so, but we appreciate, obviously, he wrote me, I guess, last week and said, hey, this is going to be having this. I'm not going to be able to be there. And it's kind of a shame because, Rockey, I think you and Will were thinking about roasting him today, right? So maybe you'll still do a little bit of that and maybe he'll get word about it.
Maybe we'll just pick on Pelzer for a little bit, and that sounds like fun.
I love it.
I am good at refereeing.
Do what?
I am good at refereeing.
There you go. Oh, that's good. That's why we put you in the middle. But I love that we have these three talking with us, and Hate Blake couldn't be here with us, but obviously Paula is his right hand, so she's going to take that in charge, and I know do a great job. But the three of them do such an amazing job, not just mayors of their own towns, but they really communicate and coordinate together, and that's what it's really about, working when you're so close, you know, geographically, but you're also very close day in, day out, and I love that. And you all talk about what can you do, how can you help each other, and that's really what we're sent here to do. So I love how you both all work together in that servant leadership, and you got Paula just in the middle of there helping you guys, but seriously, I know it takes all of your town council, your administration, your whole staff to get things done, but you guys are the leaders, and so we really greatly appreciate you. So we'll just hop right into some things. So tell me, what are you most proud of that your town has accomplished over the years you've been mayor or administrator?
Is everybody awake? I got my Johnny Cash voice on this morning. And it's a good thing because I'm singing some Johnny Cash tonight in Pelzer at our classic country concert called Rhinestone Cowboy. Anywho, so when I came into this position, by the way, I didn't mean to, hadn't planned on it. Several things happened in sequence, and I found myself being called mayor and am still confused by that. But one thing that we are proud of is that Pelzer is a mill town, was built for the Pelzer Manufacturing Company. And as you all know, with the history of mill towns in the upstate, when the mills shut down and left, they took everything with them. And so for a long time, Pelzer, for decades, has remained a little bit stagnant. And we have not been able to catch up with our neighboring towns. And so we've been doing a lot of catch up these last 3 years. And one of the first things that our citizens complained most about were the cost of their water bill. So Pelzer did maintain our own water and sewer system, and we still do not have any property taxes. And so the rates on those bills were a little bit higher than they should have been or could have been in order to help fund the town. And that was the biggest complaint. How do we lower our water bills? How do we lower our water bills? On and on and on and on about the water bills. And so finally, through a long series of negotiations and considering all of our options, we have sold our sewer system to REWA, and we recently finalized the sale of our water system to Greenville Water, which we're very excited about. Our water lines were installed a little bit after World War II, and they've never been updated since. On average, all of them are 75 years old. They're corroded. We're having lots of leaks and lots of problems. And for a town that is poor and does not have a lot of income sources, this is a real godsend to us. And in that agreement, they also are bringing with them over $6 million from an ARPA grant to upgrade the entire system. And they're also contributing about 15% of their own money. And so the entire town's water system will be upgraded to modern standards. We will have better service from a huge team of experts 24 hours a day, and everyone's water bill went down by about 20% to 30%. So all of these upgrades are not being paid for by the town residents, and they're spending less on their bills. So that, to me, is the thing I'm most proud of that we finally accomplished. I'm very excited about that.
So Williamston has been without a grocery store for 20 some odd years. Those of you who do remember when Winn-Dixie was kind of the anchor of our town. And if anybody asked me when Ingalls is coming, I'll probably just get up and leave, because I have heard that question a million times. Unfortunately, I don't control when Ingalls begins to build. When y'all see the track go out there dozing down the old Ace Hardware and Winn-Dixie, that's when Ingalls will be coming. So that's been a sore spot for our residents for many, many years. And it was #1 priority for me to try to get a grocer to come into Williamston. As you know, they have to have a supply chain there, and Ingalls fit that bill. We reached out, began negotiating with those folks along with the property owner. They have purchased that property called Town Square Shopping Center, and they have committed to build what they have told me will be their largest store in their entire conglomeration of Ingalls markets. It'll include the Starbucks, Boar's Head, Meats, the Asian cuisine, whatever that, I can't remember the restaurant they have, along with the fuel station. So we expect that to come sometime in the near future. Obviously the market went sky high with building costs and stuff like that, so they kind of held back, put the brakes on it for just a little bit, but hopefully they'll be picking up pretty soon. The second thing that I'm really excited about is our pickleball courts. How many of you ever heard of pickleball or played pickleball? A little bit of story about that. My wife and I went to a sandals resort in Jamaica, and when I first took office, if you've been through Mineral Spring Park, you'll notice that, or used to be, the old tennis courts that were back there had not been played on since probably the 80s, and that's about a quarter of the park. And one thing about being a strong mayor form of government that's fairly interesting is that nobody can tell you no. That's pretty cool. And the town has a lot of equipment and fun stuff that all little boys like me like to go play on. So I went out there and committed to going ahead and ripping up that old stuff and trying to make it a nice place for our community. And we were at Sandals Resort, and there was folks coming from all over the United States to come play in a pickleball tournament. So I went out and visited, and they said it's the fastest growing sport in America. That is one thing that you definitely want to get in on if you can and you have the space to do that. So with council's approval, we were able to get pickleball courts installed in the park, and I'm proud to say you can go to the Mineral Spring Park 10, 11 o'clock at night, and it'll be just packed out with people in the summertime. And during the day, obviously, when there's nice weather, there'll be people there all day long. That's taken our vandalism rate in the park and just it's completely plummeted. Used to at least once a month we'd have some graffiti or some type of vandalism in the park. That has went down completely. How many of you went to Springwater Festival? Raise your hand if you went to Springwater Festival. It was hot, wasn't it? This year, it was probably 100 degrees outside in August. We had some air-conditioned restrooms, which is pretty nice. We renovated those things. We're talking with the Springwater Committee, and maybe they might move that back to the spring next year and leave August maybe for bikinis on Big Creek or something. We can all sit in the creek and enjoy cooling off. I don't know. So you got that. We've got our pocket park. We've got some a new gazebo that'll be going up at the pocket park beside Bojangles. It'll be really nice as you come into town to be able to see that. But one of the things that I'm most proud of is not something that's really visible. Since I became mayor, we've secured approximately $10 million in infrastructure. That's a lot of money for a small town. Mostly that includes water and sewer infrastructure projects, some of which have been complete, the majority of which are still yet to come. Getting contractors right now, if you're in the contracting business, you will know business is very, very good. And so if you want a contractor to come do work, it's probably going to take a year or so for them to get mobilized, and it's probably going to be almost double what it was 4 or 5 years ago. So that's the thing that I'm most proud of as mayor right at the moment.
So the pride of West Pelzer in the last 30 days has come to life. We've been working on it, of course, for many years. But at the end of July, we were recognized by the Municipal Association of South Carolina for our Rural Renewal Master Plan. Not sure who named it. It's horrible to say. Rural Renewal Master Plan. So that was 5 years of planning that took our downtown business district from 100% vacancy to 100% occupancy. And in that plan, we were also able to design and move into a new town hall, move all of our municipal offices into one building. With the ARPA funds, we've taken that as part of the plan and reinvested it and caused that to be a recurring revenue stream for us every 60 months. 600 building permits have been requested in the town of West Pelzer in the last 18 months. I think we started 10 years ago with 400 homes. So that's a big deal. But the Municipal Association Award was, of course, the first for West Pelzer. We believe it is the first for Anderson County. We're going to continue to say that until someone tells us different. No one's corrected us yet. But with that, I actually have brought a video, if Ben is nice enough to play that for us, that the Municipal Association prepared, and this was played at the award ceremony. And with this, you will still get to see the smiling face of Mayor Sanders this morning.
Population category 1 to 1,000. The town of West Pelzer. The town of West Pelzer aimed to reverse the decline of its downtown Frankville business district and transform it into a vibrant commercial space that could serve its growing population. Through an intensive research and development process, it created a new Rural Renewal Master Plan that seeks to reinvigorate commerce, reinvent existing spaces, and encourage intentional growth. Using consultants, the town embarked on a wide-ranging, inclusive project to draft the plan.
With the founding principles by John Franks, who was a surveyor for the local mill, being founded on gambling, dogs, and alcohol, didn't give us a whole lot to work with when we talk about the character for West Pelzer. And so having over 30% of our population come out and give us visioning statements for what the character of the town was or what it could be was extremely important for inviting those new businesses to come to town.
More than 30% of the town's residents gave their input, explaining their desire to embrace the rural character of their community and its history while still creating vibrant spaces for people to gather and do business and promote safety, walkability, and connectivity. The town conducted virtual steering committee meetings and workshops to allow the widest possible participation among residents and its business owners. Staff from the town and collaborating staff from Anderson County collectively spent 250 hours developing the plan. West Pelzer funded the project by using American Rescue Plan Act funds.
So one thing that we did that worked really well for us was we had the meetings in a public space, a common space. We had it in a local business. People were able to come in, grab a cup of coffee, have a sandwich, sit down and chat. And it's more informal versus having it in, say, our council chambers or in an office. So people really opened up and told us what they wanted to see in the community.
As the town implements the plan's recommendations, it's obtained more than $75,000 in grant funds for action items like the expansion of Chapman Park and the creation of a free co-working space for residents.
West Pelzer has been very instrumental in helping the Palmetto Business Association grow by encouraging the local businesses to see the importance in supporting the community that they are in.
The plan will guide the town's use of its allocated American Rescue Plan funds, including such projects as passive parks, new downtown public spaces, landscaping, and on-street parking.
Another thing that we really love because of this community is how the past and the present and the future is all woven together. We love how this town honors the past. And so that helps the small business kind of know where the town came from, where the people of the town, what the community is like. But also they celebrate the present, which is amazing to us because they celebrate everything that's being done in this town. And if you can't find a town that will celebrate you as a personal business owner, then the town's really not going to support you. But also planning for the future. That's the reason why we love the master plan, is because we understand that this town is not going to stay a small town, it's going to become a growing town. That the town's going to continue to grow, not just for them, but for the businesses and the community around it.
Already, a downtown that was once completely empty of active businesses has achieved a 95% business occupancy rate.
Good point. Most everybody here, I'm assuming, are business owners, or at least in the upper echelon of your business. And I'm sure y'all wonder, why is what you guys do important? Each one of these communities provides a location for your employees to live, to raise their families. We've got Anderson School District 1, Kyle, which is probably the best school district in the state by far. Top school district. Anderson 5, somewhere in that mix. But those are things that are important to you, your employees, and it should be important to you, but definitely important to your employees, their families, to be able to attract good quality employees here. And my job is to provide amenities and things like that that will keep them here and keep their quality of life happy, healthy, those type of things. So that's what we do day in and day out, and that's what we're focused on, I believe. At least I am. I'm pretty sure y'all are too.
Milltown Players is starting its 10th season. I cannot believe it. 10 years. And this is what brought me to Pelzer to begin with. And I had started 2 theater programs, one at Woodmont High and one at Palmetto High. And I saw the transformative power that community theater had on not only individuals but schools, and I knew it would happen for an entire community. And so I was crazy enough to do it, and still am. And surprisingly, we just keep on trucking and working as hard as we can and drawing together local talent. That's what I'm really proud of, is that the upstate, and our community especially, is full of talent, second to none. You know, talent does not know a zip code. God does not say, I'm going to put all the talent in New York City. He's also going to put it in Pelzer. And we lovingly refer to our home as the Pelzer Peace Center. And folks come from all over to see our shows. On average, about 30,000 people a year come to Pelzer to see shows. From all over the country, even too. And it's pretty amazing. Our mission is very simple: quality and affordable. And the affordable part is what's really important to me. It makes us different. Because, you know, if you go see a show, let's say in Greenville, if it's locally produced, it might be between $35 and $45. If you tried to see Wicked at the Peace Center, I think it was $168 to see that show for one ticket. And our people are never going to be able to see that, you know. So I wanted to be able to offer as high quality as possible for the lowest price, so that we could be accessible to everybody. And that formula has worked for us. We don't make a lot of money. We're a nonprofit, but we don't do it for money. We do it for the joy that we spread to our community. And so our ticket prices are still the cheapest in the upstate. And we have one of the largest houses, 650 seats. And so that formula continues to work for us. And most ticket prices are under $15. So it's pretty awesome. Proud to be a part of Pelzer. And, you know, Milltown Players is our sole tourism industry. And it's the one thing that's really stuck over the past 10 years that I've lived there. And the sky is the limit for not only that, but the dreams we have for our little town.
And I think that's what's great with all of it.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, Anderson County has been wonderful to Pelzer, and they have really held our hand through this process of catching up. And let me tell you, they meet with us weekly, and we have started things we've never had before all this year, including business licenses, Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, all of these things Pelzer's never had. And it truly feels like we've done more in terms of moving forward in the past 3 years than we have in the past 30. And it is just wonderful to know that I have so many resources with the county and my fellow mayors and administrators. And, you know, in order to succeed, we really have to have all the right information. We have to know what's out there. We have to be connected. We have to know what the funding sources are. And it's just been wonderful to know that all of that is just a phone call away, and that there is no barrier. Everyone with the county is totally open to speaking with us and helping us achieve these goals. And so it's just been a fantastic experience, truly.
So I think ours goes back to the Rural Renewal Master Plan. There was a lot of things that we've already accomplished, but there's several things that we're now in the process. And, you know, as Blake will tell you, we hope to complete in the next 117 days, which is probably a little ambitious, but I have no doubt he will at least start the ball rolling. So we're looking at upfitting an old building that it was our original town hall in the 60s. It was a jail at some point. It was a Boy Scout hut at some point. I have no idea of the order of those things, but we're looking at upfitting that, putting in a public restroom, getting it where it can be a usable space for the town. And we will use it as a meeting center. We're going to call it the Gaines Center, which I have a personal connection to. My grandfather was Mayor Gaines. He was the longest serving mayor of West Pelzer from 1966 to his death in December of 1989. So I definitely have a personal connection to that one, but that's something we've been able to do. We didn't have a lot of buildings. We didn't have a lot of property, but we are utilizing what we have, and that's one more space that we can open up to the public and show them that we are preserving the history, but we're moving forward and being progressive in that. We're also looking at gateway signage, and we will be putting that on the opposite end of town. But we're looking for something to identify West Pelzer and our uniqueness. And a lot of things can, you know, we can talk and we can tell our story all day long, but when you have that wow factor at the entrance of the town, that says a lot. And it says a lot for our elected officials and our citizens that they have all come together and they've decided what that needs to be, what it needs to look like. And I won't give too much away, but I have seen the designs, and it is also a tribute to our past, present, and future.
What do you look forward to seeing in the future? What does the future look like for Williamston in particular? It's been, I mentioned that the job is very tough to be a mayor, but it's also very rewarding. And one of the ways I mean by that, and it's rewarding, is you drive through town and you can see the transformation that has taken place over the last 2.5 years. And I know that you had a small part in that. Is very, very rewarding. I mentioned the $10 million in infrastructure that is slated, funded. Seeing that come to fruition, seeing an Ingles grocery store being built, seeing things that it took years of planning to actually come to fruition is the one thing that I look forward to seeing the most. I will add, too, that, you know, previous administrations and our council, they've done a really, really good job. We've always knew that growth would be coming from the Greenville down to us, and it's here, but we did a very, very good job in planning ahead so that we don't just have row homes being thrown up every which way and developers come in, make their dollar and get out. It's actually quality homes that includes green space, sidewalk systems throughout, that type of thing that we're looking forward to seeing come to fruition.
And I love all of these wonderful things that are happening and planning to happen in my neighboring towns, because whenever something good happens in these other two towns, Pelzer starts to get jealous and want something. Well, why don't we have that, right? And I love that, because then it gives me a reason to fuel that project. So I'm not originally from Pelzer, and I'm reminded of that often. I'm a Yankee from Powdersville. But I have come to embrace the history of the town. I love history. I love the stories behind who we are today. And it helps inform what the next chapter in this story is going to be. And so one of the things that I am championing is to save the few remaining historic buildings that are left in Pelzer. You look back at our history, and it was such a thriving place, idyllic, ideal, a utopia almost, it seems like, the way they talk about it. Everybody had everything you could ever imagine for these workers. They were poor, but they didn't know they were poor because they were provided everything. And so these beautiful buildings that were systematically destroyed and torn down and burned down, there are only a few left. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we save these, but also bring new life to them? And our project right now is our community building in the Monkey Park. Now, if you've never heard of the Monkey Park, you're probably saying, what in the world? Well, we used to have monkeys about 100 years ago in cages. It was a mill-run zoo. I'm not even joking. Monkey Park. It's true. And this community building was built in the 1890s as a skating rink, an open-air skating rink. And so we're going through an historic tax credit process to restore the building as close as possible to its original state. It was closed in over time and went through many renovations and was boarded up and became sort of a forgotten, nondescript building. But now we've discovered what it is, and we are told by our historic consultant that it is the oldest freestanding skating rink in the state of South Carolina. And so we want to restore it to its original look, and also add a kitchen and ADA accessible restrooms for it to be an event space that can be used by the community once again and bring life back to that building. We also have another building that is unique to Pelzer that he says there's nothing like it anywhere else. It's an old library called the Lyceum, built in 1895, right in the center of town. It then became our hospital, where many of our residents were born for decades who still live in Pelzer, and later was the rescue squad. So we want to restore that building. It's right in the center of town. It can truly be an iconic structure that when people drive through, they say, whoa, what's that? That's a cool building. We'd like it to be our new town hall and municipal center one day. And then, of course, we have our historic gym built in 1922 that we are also seeing more interest in as well. There's actually a pool in the basement, like the Biltmore House, just not as fancy. Not quite sure what to do with it, but it's there. So those projects are exciting to me to preserve the history that exists in Pelzer, which defines our identity. And the big thing that I would really like to see is our trail system. And we're working hard on setting the stage for that. A trail system that can then connect to West Pelzer and Williamston. And our trail will be different from most trails in that it will run along the Saluda River. We have 3 miles of riverfront property.
Will, you mentioned the trails, and Pam maybe can allude a little bit to this. Recently at the ACOG board meeting, we had a representative from DOT that came and made us aware that DOT has the General Assembly has appropriated $10 million, I think, in TAP funds for alternative travel, including trails, and that's $10 million for municipalities under 5,000, which is definitely the three here. Not quite Anderson. Anderson, believe it or not, the larger municipalities have less funding, so there's more funding available for us to be able to do that. And the three mayors got together a couple of years ago and created a resolution, presented that to GPATS that will actually take the trail system. Williamston currently has a small trail system. I think it's about a mile long, to interconnect that, to connect the three towns together, as well as they call it the Blue Trail, I believe, on the Sluter River. So basically, you could park in Mineral Spring Park and literally walk to the Sluter River, and ultimately, perhaps connect us to Belton, and Swamp Rabbit Trail wouldn't be too far to connect to.
I'm going to talk about this until they change it. In this county, all municipalities have property taxes except for two, Star and Pelzer. And we are not allowed to have them. What? That's right. And if Piedmont ever wants to incorporate, they can't have taxes either. Neither could Powdersville. Say what? That's right. I didn't understand this either, and I asked about it. And there's some law they passed a while back called Act 388, which changed the way schools are funded. But there was an interpretation by the Attorney General that said, the way it was worded, that if a town didn't have taxes, they could not start having them. And so we're not allowed to have property taxes, which my two friends here already have. They also have police departments. We will never have a police department. We pay Anderson County, the Sheriff's Office, extra money for dedicated protection. As much as we can afford. It's a few hours a week, but it's at least something. So our hands are tied until our friends in Columbia amend that, and we have tried year after year after year to try and amend that. We almost had it. It was moving forward, and then COVID hit, and it stopped everything. And of course, it's hard for any legislator to say, yeah, I want to change this so we can have taxes. Like, that's not very popular, to raise taxes. But when you're talking about basic core funding, it is very important to us. Now, one of the reasons it's not popular to change this, I'm going to say it, I'm going to say it out loud, there are 70-something municipalities in South Carolina who fall under this limitation of Act 388, and some of those places include Kiowa Island, Seabrook Island, Pawleys Island, Johns Island, and some folks down there who may have some property don't want to, have taxes on them. So maybe that's why. Unfortunately, it hurts little towns like us. But we have to have funding to do what we do. We have to. We are finding other sources. We are being supported, and we're doing all we can with what we've got. We don't want to have big taxes. No one does. We're proud of not putting that burden on our citizens. But if I could change one thing, it'd be the ability to have property taxes one day, if we needed to, if our residents wanted to fund things that other towns can fund.
Well, I'm the only non-politician up here, and I'm going to give you the most political answer. I don't want any change. We are perfect. We've done everything right. No, all that said, we have seen so many changes over the last decade that we're continuing to grow. We're continuing to move forward, and it hasn't been perfect. There have been growing pains, but we're following the roadmap that's been given to us by our citizens and with our master plan. So the changes that are coming, we've prepared for, we're building towards, and I just look forward to what's next. I'd just like to give a shout out to the two mayors present, as well as Mayor Sanders. This is my 16th year as appointed employee for the town of West Pelzer, and the last 2.5 years are the first time that I have seen communication and just commitment from the three communities and the three mayors working together, and it's made a difference in all the communities. And that camaraderie and trust that they have with each other has just made a better life for everyone.
When you're in this role, you can kind of ride through your town. You can think of a lot of changes. I can't think of any one change that I would have done that we're not actively working on right now, even as we speak. I'm sitting here in this meeting with you guys, enjoying the heck out of it, while the salvage yard on Greenville Drive, which has been an eyesore and an entrance into town for years and years and years, is literally being demolished as we speak. There's dozers, there's big excavators there. Those are things we're working hard on every single day, and that doesn't come by happenstance. We didn't just wake up one morning and all of a sudden own that property and have the ability to be able to make a difference. That takes lots and lots of work by our council, by my office, my staff, and again, I can't think of any one thing that I would just wake up and change. It's a lot of small changes that we're actively working on day to day. Paula, we're 3 towns, but we're one community, and we're joined together by the Anderson District 1 school system, primarily the Palmetto schools. It has been a joy and an honor to work with the other 2 mayors, my counterparts, and initiatives that are making a difference in our community. What I would tell you as business owners and employees, upper echelon of each business, is that these 3 communities are open for business. We're ready for you. When you get ready, let us know. We'll help you get set up in Williamston or Pelzer or West Pelzer. One gauge that I'm able to look at, and particularly with our restaurants, to be able to tell if what we're doing is working, whether it be installing pickleball courts, whether it be bringing new business to the area, is to look at hospitality tax. You know, that's 2% on prepared foods that I think pretty much every municipality has in Anderson County. The Anderson County itself doesn't have it, but we do, and it's been a godsend for us. That's how we're able to fund Mineral Spring Park, which, by the way, is either the first or second oldest public park in the nation. That's a pretty big bragging rights, wouldn't you say? But we're able to look at that hospitality tax and see that go up. I just got some figures yesterday, I believe it was, that shows that from this point in time last year in our budget cycle, we're up $12,000 already. And that doesn't sound like a whole lot of money, but 2%, our overall budget is around $260,000 a year. When I took office, we were budgeting $180,000. So what we're doing, and I've only been in office for two years and 9 months. So you can see that gradually increasing. Actually, it's pretty substantial. And I'll also add that if you do the math on that, at $260,000 a year, that's $13 million of eating out in the town limits of Williamston alone. Keep in mind, that's without the smoking pig. How many are from Sandy Springs or Clemson? Everybody knows the pig, right? The pig is back in Williamston, and we're glad to have them back. They were shut down for a little over a year, so that didn't even take into account their revenues that they bring in. So that's a lot of eating. I'm convinced nobody in Williamston, Pelzer or West Pelzer cooks at home. Everybody eats out, and we're grateful for it. All right?
Rockey, I want to say that you're welcome for all of your new hospitality revenue from all of my patrons, from Milltown players. They go to Williamston and Piedmont and West Pelzer to eat. So the one thing I want to say is, we need a restaurant in Pelzer. A new restaurant, please. No, but we are a prime place for investment right now. There's so much potential for Pelzer. I think about it all the time. I got some great news yesterday that we're going to see some kayak portage being installed around 3 dams on the Saluda next year. The hydro company that owns the dams and the land around there, they're going to build a kayak portage around the dam in Piedmont, also in Pelzer, and right down the river towards Williamston at the lower dam. So that's going to be huge. Yeah, it's going to be great. They're footing the bill, and they're going to maintain it. And I thought, my goodness, what an answer to prayer. It's going to happen in 2024. So the Blue Trail vision for Anderson County is going to be becoming a reality. So you can take your kayak up to Dolly Cooper Park in Powdersville and float all the way down as far as you want to go, and one day maybe to the Atlantic Ocean, who knows. But we're so excited about that, and we do have our old mill property sites, one of which is on the river, right there at the dam, right there at Highway 8. We have a lot of traffic, and those sites are available for some innovative ways to develop and bring in some new businesses, retail hopefully, and definitely restaurants. We can absolutely support a restaurant that is catered to the 30,000 people who are coming to see shows in Pelzer. You could have 30,000 people eating at your brand new restaurant on the river. Oh yeah.
I'm going to miss Blake tremendously. I think he'll still be around, at least for me to call. I hope he will be. It's been invaluable. I think Blake's the longest serving mayor up here. Am I correct? Yeah. I'm the oldest, by a little bit. But having Blake as a mentor to be able to pick up the phone and call him, I don't know if people realize, but a lot of times, especially in a strong mayor form of government where you are the man, you're in charge of everything from police, fire, water, sewer, trash pickup. I mean, it's like running 9 different small businesses all in one. And couple that with the fact we actually have a wastewater treatment plant that is 1 million gallons a day, so we're dealing with DEC. We're dealing with a lot of government entities. There's a lot of work involved. And it's really nice and comforting to be able to pick up the phone, call our senior mayor, Blake Sanders, and pick his brain a little bit and sometimes cry on his shoulder. And he always has some real comforting words. Most of the time it's, well, Rocky, you know, it's tough. I understand what you're going through, but it could be worse. You could be Pelzer. And I say, thank you, Blake. I appreciate you bringing that in perspective. It helps out so much. If you follow Pelzer politics, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm telling you, he could shut down meal players or just have his meetings there in the auditorium, sell tickets. Like, you could double the price. Guarantee sellout show. It's amazing. Y'all should follow it. You should look at live streaming it, by the way. Charge admission, something. It's great.
Thank you, Rocky. I will not miss Blake Sanders. Not at all. Because we live on the same street. We're neighbors. I'm still going to see Blake Sanders. I'm still going to call him. He is such a great friend, and what an opportunity for me to have his advice. I mean, he's an urban planner, landscape architect by trade, and so, my goodness, the perfect source that I will continue to call and ask for advice. And also, Rockey is such a fantastic mayor for Williamston, just a wealth of knowledge, and I text him and call him all the time about the smallest things, and he's given me a lot of great advice as well. But really, to add to the whole theme here of 3 amigos and 3 towns, 1 community, it's the only way that we're all going to move forward is by working together, hand in hand. In the past, there have been division between the 3 towns, no more. And if it takes a Yankee from Powdersville to come in and say, why is this? Why are we not working together? Then maybe that is what needs to happen. But again, very thankful to be a part of this community and this county. And thanks for having us.